Up this half hour, Ayman al-Zawahiri, Under Siege or Hard to Kill. A new audio tape may have the answers. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory remembered 93 years after the tragic fire. Does this self-help fitness guru need some anger management help of his own? And from 776 BC to 2004, the Olympics come full circle. The flame is lit and the stage is set for this year's Summer Games. All of that and more coming up right now on NYU Tonight. Good evening. Thanks for watching NYU Tonight. It's Thursday, March 25th, 2004. I'm Erik McKenna.
And I'm Adriana Prado. Stay tuned for an inside look at a women's rights organization. But first, our top stories. Crowds gathered today to remember the victims of the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire that occurred in the Brown Building in 1911. Here's Isha Mehta with more on that story.
A little bit of rain didn't stop this crowd from attending the 93rd commemoration of the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire.
And we realize how sad that incident was. But we also realize that this struggle still goes on. That people today, as I speak, are working under unsafe conditions.
We have to convince everybody that worker safety is very important. Workers go to work, not to die.
New York State Assemblywoman Susan John brought some of the generations-old labor concerns into present day.
It's time that we have an increase in the minimum wage here in New York, and even $284 a week doesn't sound like a lot when you got bills to pay, children to take care of, but it would be a huge step from where we are now.
Students from IS2 in Staten Island also found ways to relate to the tragedy.
The workers here were getting mistreated. They weren't getting what they deserved. And I figured that's about the same way that blacks were treated a long time ago. So I guess I can relate to that.
The commemoration of the fire will go beyond today's events. The Actors Company Theater will begin performances of the Triangle Factory Fire Project beginning May 14th. For NYU Tonight, I'm Isha Mehta.
The Triangle Fire took many lives that day, but it also helped to save the lives of workers for years to come. Cherish Duke has the story.
And it really shocked the whole, the country, but particularly New York City. People were horrified.
The Triangle Fire not only changed American history, but American minds.
Out of that, people understood that you needed to pass laws, you needed to have safety standards, but you also needed unions, because unless these workers could organize and get power, you would never stop the sweatshop.
Susan Cal is the vice president of Unite. Located on Fashion Avenue, Unite is an organization that fights unfair labor practices in the garment industry.
Unite is a union that represents apparel, textile, laundry, distribution, and retail workers throughout the United States and Canada. We organize, we bargain contracts, we get involved in political issues that matter to our members and their families. We are our members.
Because most of these members are low-wage immigrant women, Unite feels that outreach into the community is especially important.
We think reaching out is critical. We're a very active union. We do a lot of street action. We go into our shops, we talk to workers, we talk about the issues.
But what are the issues? The Triangle Fire was almost 100 years ago, so haven't unfair practices in the workplace changed since then?
In many ways, I think the exploitation today is worse than it's ever been in our history. Industry has always been one that's looking for cheap labor. It's a global industry, and wherever you have workers who are vulnerable, whether it's undocumented immigrants in the United States or bonded laborers in China, you find the big clothing companies going to those countries. So while workers are weaker and weaker because the companies can go anywhere in the world, the corporations are getting bigger and bigger.
Although corporations like Walmart are the worst, Susan says that most big clothing chains are guilty.
Well, the truth is, almost every company is complicit in this system. We view the problems as systemic, and we think that they won't really be solved until the laws change, until we have a global trading structure and much stronger unions everywhere in the world so that workers can organize and fight back.
But not everyone is a worker. So how can we as students make a difference?
We think the Worker-Student Alliance is very important for the future of this country. Students are active. They're willing to get out and demonstrate and raise issues the way sometimes working people aren't. So we see a lot of issues like sweatshops really coming to the fore first on college campuses.
If you're interested in making a difference on this campus, the National Student Labor Week of Action is next week, and Unite encourages every student to get involved.
Often the media will pay attention to students when they don't pay attention to workers. We find that if we've got a struggle going on and we can get students focused on it, even if it's just one big demonstration, it has an impact.
For NYU Tonight, I am Cherish Duke.
While the battle between the Bush administration and former counterterrorism advisor Richard Clarke continued today, Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld supported the goals of the 9/11 Commission. Rumsfeld refuted Clarke's charges during his testimony to the commission Tuesday that the Bush camp scaled back the campaign against Osama bin Laden before the attacks and later undermined the war on terrorism by invading Iraq. Despite the harsh words, Rumsfeld said the commission has the opportunity to aid the war on terror, and during a Pentagon briefing today, Rumsfeld had this to say.
It has an opportunity to craft recommendations that I believe could greatly aid in the war on terror, as well as help Americans better understand the long-term nature of the threats we face. Theirs is not an easy task. September 11th.
At the 9/11 Commission hearings yesterday, Clarke, who served under the three presidents and released a book this week, accused the president of being too focused on Iraq to give terrorism the attention it deserved. He added that 9/11 could have been prevented. The president said today during an appearance in New Hampshire that if he had known the attacks were coming, he would have employed every resource, every asset, every power of this government.
A new tape has surfaced on the Arabic news network Al Jazeera, supposedly made by Ayman al-Zawahiri, the man considered bin Laden's closest advisor. In it, he calls Pakistan's President Pervez Musharraf a Muslim assassin and asks for the Pakistani people to overthrow their government. This comes 1 week after Pakistani troops were believed to have the so-called brains of al-Qaeda cornered in a mountainous tribal area near the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan. Fighting between Pakistani forces and al-Qaeda sympathizers are still ongoing in the area, but it was never confirmed just who those sympathizers were protecting in the first place. Early speculation was that it was Zawahiri who was cornered, but officials have since backed off those claims. Occupation, imperialism, empire. Just a few of the words voiced at this past Saturday's rally to mark the first-year anniversary of the war in Iraq. Melissa Aguirre was there.
The troops home. No blood for oil.
But it wasn't just about Iraq. As part of an international day of protest, thousands of people gathered along Madison Avenue demanding an end to all U.S. occupation. Of course, there were those who support Bush and American foreign policy. For viewers at home, Bush himself wasn't too far away, appearing on national television at the same time of the rally.
And most important, we've a positive vision for the years ahead. Positive vision for winning the war against terror.
For NYU Tonight, this is Melissa Aguirre.
John Kerry and Howard Dean are sharing the same stage again today, but no longer as bitter political rivals. The former primary foes addressed students at George Washington University, and Dean enthusiastically endorsed Kerry for president. Dean told the audience that when comparing Kerry and Bush, the choice is clear, including on who is better able to protect America.
The real issue is this. Who would you rather have in charge of the defense of the United States of America? A group of people who never served a day overseas in their life, or a guy who served his country honorably and has 3 Purple Hearts and a Silver Star on the battlefields of Vietnam?
Dean also pledged to use his extensive network of activists and small money donors to build grassroots support for Kerry in the months ahead. The event was a lead-up to tonight's big unity dinner, whose attendees include important party figures like Bill Clinton and Al Gore. At the dinner, the Democratic National Committee hopes to raise more than $11 million to help Kerry take back the White House in November.
A fight over a flag, religion, and a few words went before the nation's high court today. The U.S. Supreme Court is considering whether the phrase "under God" should be removed from the Pledge of Allegiance. This ritual in schools is now under attack by atheist Michael Nubel. His problem? He doesn't want his 10-year-old daughter saying the words "under God" in the pledge. The phrase was added unanimously by Congress 50 years ago. Inside the Supreme Court, Bush administration Solicitor General Theodore Olson said "under God" is merely a ceremonial patriotic exercise. Nubel remarked, "To say this is not religious is somewhat bizarre." The parents echoed his feelings outside.
Know that when my child goes to the public schools, she's not going to be indoctrinated with any religious dogma.
Last year, the Ninth Circuit Appeals Court ruled in favor of Nubel. The decision infuriated Supreme Court Justice Scalia so much that he had made comments that have led him to recuse himself from this case. Before the court can determine whether the words are offensive or patriotic, justices must first decide whether Nubel even has standing to sue, since the child's mother has the custodial rights. She says she supports saying the phrase. A ruling is expected in July. Jason Williams' lawyers launched their defensive after 6 weeks of listening to prosecution witnesses. The defense tried to discredit key eyewitness Benoit Benjamin through the testimony of their first witness, forensic pathologist Michael Baden.
The fact that blood, a spatter, got there from Mr. Christofi means he couldn't have been in that spot. There was no blood spatter on Mr. Benoit's clothing.
Williams' lawyers also tried to refute prosecution charges that Williams tried to position the gun in Christofi's hand, but ended up helping the prosecution's tampering theory.
Smears on Mr. Christofi's hand could have been from the defendant putting the shotgun in his hand. Isn't that correct?
Smears can occur if somebody's manipulating the hands. That's a possibility.
Defense attorneys are still debating as to whether or not they should put Williams on the stand.
Know how many calories are in your baked potato? Americans may be soon forced to eat it and weep if the city's health commissioner gets his way. Thomas Frieden announced a plan yesterday that encourages restaurants to provide nutritional information on the menu, much like the kind you find on a bag of chips. And forget about the price. A traditional restaurant dinner, like this one, would cost us nearly 1,500 calories, 3/4 the recommended daily amount. Other states are filing similar bills, including a menu labeling bill in Maine and a ban of soda in California's public schools.
Well, counting calories and working out may help to control weight, but it apparently doesn't do much to help control tempers. With more on that, here's Jocelyn Nubel with your entertainment news. Jocelyn?
Thank you, Eric. And what could be more fun than a celebrity in trouble with the law? This is an interesting one. Richard Simmons, fitness guru, was cited for misdemeanor assault last night after allegedly hitting a man in the face. A fellow passenger at a Phoenix airport recognized Simmons and then, according to police, yelled, "Hey everyone, it's Richard Simmons. Let's all drop our bags and rock to the 50s. Simmons, who was not at all amused by the comment, walked over to the passenger and didn't punch him in the face, but rather slapped the man in the face. The passenger wasn't injured, but did tell police he plans to press charges. And it's been an exciting week for one of Hollywood's trashiest couples. Whitney Houston has sprung from rehab and Bobby Brown is back behind bars. Houston had checked herself into a drug rehabilitation program in Atlanta for substance abuse, but fled after only 5 days, claiming she hated being cooped up. Meanwhile, Bobby Brown was let out of jail in Georgia only to be taken into custody in Massachusetts. Brown is being held on charges of failure to pay for child support. What a mess those two are. And due to the overwhelming popularity of the most ridiculous shows on television, here is your reality TV roundup for the week. America's Next Top Model is 23-year-old Joanna House, winning a contract with IMG Modeling Company. 25-year-old Matthew Rogers will not be America's Idol. He was voted off the show last night. How tragic. And there's only 6 contestants left on America's hottest reality show, The Apprentice. This hotness is by no means a result of host Donald Trump's looks, by the way. So tune in tonight to NBC at 9 p.m. to see who gets fired next. It should be riveting. And if you're looking for a break from all these reality TV shows like I am, you should check out the Met's new exhibit, Byzantium, Faith and Power, which actually opened yesterday. And while you're there, you could also see Chuck Close's prints, which will only be exhibited through April, so this weekend would be a great time to go get there. And NYU's program board is putting on a great concert tonight. Chick 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 is performing at the Kimmel Center in the Eisner and Lubin Auditorium. Tickets are $3 with an NYU ID, $5 without. And to find out more about upcoming shows, go to Ticket Central, now located at 566 LaGuardia Place, or online at www.nyu.edu/ticketcentral. I'm Jocelyn Nubel. That's all for entertainment.
Thanks, Jocelyn. Well, football's coming back to the Big Apple. New York officials announced plans today for a $1.4 billion stadium for the New York Jets on Manhattan's West Side. The Jets, who now play at the Meadowlands in New Jersey, agreed to pay $800 million, leaving the city and state to cover the difference. Opponents of the plan believe it will add unnecessary traffic to an already congested West Side highway and have promised to fight until the plan is defeated. Furthermore, the owners of Madison Square Garden are worried that the project will create competition for concerts and other special events. But Governor George Pataki says the stadium will cement New York City's bid for the 2012 Summer Olympics.
Enjoying the spring thaw? Well, to see if it will continue, here's a look at the forecast.
Well, who would have thunk it, but clicking on kazaa.com could send you to jail.org. Here with that and more is Ariel Fish.
Thank you, Eric. That's right. You may want to think twice before downloading any more music. Several college students were sued by the Recording Industry Association of America yesterday for trading copyrighted music files. The RIAA was able to hunt down 89 students from over 20 schools, including at least one from NYU, by tracking the IP addresses of the students' computers. However, the identities of the students remain unknown to the association until a subpoena reaches university officials. A spokesperson for NYU said they will not reveal any information until they receive further notice from the courts. Hard work and dedication has paid off for NYU's Delta Phi sorority. For 3 years, Delta Phi was considered a campus colony where its sisters had to hold a certain number of events, recruit and maintain its membership, and raise money towards a savings account. This Saturday, the sorority will gain recognition as a full chapter of the national sorority Alpha Sigma Tau. Delta Phi's installation chair has stated the group is thrilled to achieve its goal they've worked so hard for. It's that time of year again. Housing deadlines are fast approaching. If you still haven't filled out your lottery cards, you're running out of time. They're due tomorrow by 5 p.m. for the upcoming school year. You can submit your completed lottery cards via the housing website at www.nyu.edu/housing/forms. And if you're planning on staying in housing over the summer, applications are also due tomorrow for current undergrad residents. You can apply online for that at www.nyu.edu/summer/housing. I'm Ariel Fish, and that's your NYU Focus. Back to you.
Thanks, Ariel. The lack of a campus often prevents unity among students. What is the school doing to promote unity? Elizabeth Yoon has the story.
Can I get 2 large coffees, one with just skim milk and one with skim milk with 3 sugars?
Coffee, a must for most students. And this morning, even in the rain, many students still lined up at this cart. The cart is strategically located on West 4th Street and Green Street. It sits between Stern Business School and the campus eatery. So why do students come here?
This coffee is cheaper, better. I recommend it.
According to the owners who claim to have been here for 10 years, they help the students, not create competition.
No, because we will help the student, we serve the coffee, we give cheap price from a store from Starbucks. No, it's not competition. Yes.
But for some students, it isn't even about the competition. The price difference between the carts and the campus eatery is only 25 cents for a cup of coffee. For some students, it's about the freshness.
And they've been in there probably a week, and they have a lot of preservatives, I imagine.
And some students just use both.
I usually go to the carts, just for the soup. I come to the soup.
But at least today for me, it's all about the campus eatery. For NYU Tonight, I'm Brooks Hornsby.
March is National Women's History Month, and here is our own Linda Katzman to tell us how women on campus are making history.
Thank you, Adriana. Women have been making history for centuries. Susan B. Anthony, Eleanor Roosevelt, Golda Meir, Madeleine Albright, and Hillary Clinton are just a few of the women we recognize during the month of March. They are distinguished for making changes in the rights of women everywhere. NYU Junior and Voices for Choice Vice President Jill Filipovich is carrying on the torch and is here today to tell us about what women are doing to improve the world around them. Hi, Jill. Thanks for being on the show. For those viewers that are not familiar with the organization Voices for Choice, could you just tell them what you guys do and what your goal is?
Sure. Voices for Choice is the pro-choice organization on campus. We focus on women's reproductive freedom, including access to birth control, access to abortion, and access to all kinds of reproductive health care.
And what big events do you guys have coming up?
Our biggest event is the March for Choice, which is coming up on April 25th. It's going to be a 1 million-person march in Washington, D.C. We're busing NYU students up there and back on Sunday, April 25th. And it's going to be really fantastic, so I hope we get a big turnout.
Excellent. For those students that are interested in attending, how can they get involved and get on those buses?
All they have to do is contact either Voices for Choice or the National Organization for Women at NYU. Both of us have OSA websites that you can contact us through. Bus tickets are $33, and we're trying to subsidize that cost, so it could be as little as $10. And you put down your down payment of $10, we'll reserve you a seat, and we'll get you up to DC and back in a day.
Okay, and what exactly is involved in this type of march?
Basically, we're going to go out to the White House lawn, we're going to walk up all through Washington, we're going to take down the whole city, and really tell this administration that America is pro-choice, that America respects women's health and women's lives, and that we're demanding better women's health care and better women's rights internationally.
Okay, and what issues specifically is the march targeting?
The march is targeting women's lives, so everything that contributes to that, including reproductive rights, including access to birth control, including women internationally having access to political office, having access to reproductive health care abroad.
Okay, and why is this march so important right now?
Well, this is going to be the biggest pro-choice march in a decade, so we haven't really seen anything like this in the past 10 years. It's also really important given our current administration, which is pretty anti-choice, and which has really been coming down hard on a lot of women's issues. So we're going to show them, what pro-choice America looks like.
And what are you guys doing currently with the Roe versus Wade controversy? There's a lot of talk about repealing it and what's going on in the courts right now. How are you guys focusing on that?
What we're trying to do is basically just raise awareness surrounding the issues. When the Blackmun papers came out, that really showed what a thin line Roe versus Wade really is situated on. And with the partial birth abortion ban that just went through, which is a huge violation of women's rights, which few people really know what a serious step backward that was. So we're really just trying to raise awareness about those issues, about John Ashcroft, who's right now subpoenaing women's medical records in New York State. So women who have had certain types of late-term abortions are currently having their privacy severely violated by many people in this administration, which is why this march and this event is so important to really get our voices out there.
Okay, last question. There are currently a lot of talk with this administration about Title IX, and which gives women's sports the same rights as men's sports. How do you guys see the future of Title IX?
Well, hopefully Title IX will be maintained. This was an especially big issue last spring when Rod Page, who's the education secretary, was reevaluating the whole thing. Thankfully, they kept Title IX the way it is so that women still have access to sports, still have access to things like graduate school, law school, still have access to undergraduate education and equal rates as men. So I mean, we're hoping that every administration will still stay strong on that issue and will allow women access to everything that we've worked so hard to get.
Well, thank you very much for being on our show
Yeah,
today,
thank you.
Jill. Coming up, a look at sports right after this public service announcement and an update on the stocks.
I'm sick of this. I'm sick of dealing with you. I'm sick of
I work 6 days a week.
Who
do you think you
Stand
are?
up straight. Don't you ever talk back to me again! You just shut up!
What are you crying about, Brett?
What a child learns about violence, a child learns for life. Teach carefully. We can show you how.
Finally takes the stand, and are the Knicks' playoff dreams too good to be true? With the answers for that and more, here's Liz Sabbia with the NYU Sports. Liz?
Thanks, Eric. Kobe Bryant was back in court today after embarrassing the Sacramento Kings last night in a 115-91 win. However, the Kings aren't the only ones being embarrassed by Bryant. Yesterday, in a preliminary hearing, Bryant's 19-year-old accuser took the stand and answered questions concerning her sexual conduct before and after the alleged rape. This, according to the defense, shows that her injuries may have been caused by someone else and not Bryant. Friends and ex-boyfriends of the 19-year-old testified earlier today. Additionally, the judge plans on ruling on whether to allow Bryant's taped statements to police after the alleged incident and a bloody T-shirt of the victim into evidence. It was a frightening moment for the Yankees yesterday as reigning MVP Alex Rodriguez got cracked in the face by a ricocheted ball. Playing against the arch rivals, the Boston Red Sox, the ball thrown by Matsui accidentally bounced off Brian DeBach's shoe as he ran to third and caught A-Rod just below his left eye. Rodriguez says that he's feeling fine, though, and is looking forward to making the trip to Japan next Tuesday for opening day. The countdown to the Summer Olympic Games in Athens, Greece began this morning with the lighting of the Olympic torch. The ceremony attracted thousands of spectators. Greek actresses playing priestesses of ancient times ignited the flames using only a mirrored bowl and the intense heat from the sun. From Athens, the torch will be carried more than 70 kilometers around the world by numerous torchbearers before returning to the city for the start of the Olympics in August. The New York University's men's volleyball team swept the Colonials of Southampton College 3-0 and improved to 9-0 in the EIVA. Chris Schmidt led the Violets with 10 kills and 8 blocks. NYU returns to action tonight when they travel to face the Chargers of New Haven University. And for tonight's sports quiz, has NYU ever made it to the NCAA basketball championship game? The answer may actually surprise you. NYU made their only appearance back in 1945, but the Violets lost to Oklahoma State 49-45. That's all with sports. I'm Liz Sabbia.
Thanks, Liz. And finally tonight, dust those binoculars and telescopes off. Our 5 closest planetary neighbors, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, will be making a cameo appearance. This alignment should be visible to the naked eye every night for about an hour after sunset for the next 2 weeks and is not expected to happen again for about 3 decades. For you horoscope junkies, this cosmic alignment will bring luck in love, money, and probably everything else. Honestly, when was the last time you read a bad horoscope?
You know, I don't think I've ever read a bad horoscope, Eric. Well, that's it for this edition of NYU Tonight. Thanks for joining us. I'm Adriana Prado.
And I'm Erik McKenna. Have a good night.
Good night.